Aloha everyone, good afternoon. We're gaveling in and starting our Committee on Higher Education and Technology, our hearing for this afternoon in room 309. The date is Wednesday, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. It's 2 p.m. I'm Vice Chair Capella, and I have the privilege of being able to lead today's hearing, thanks to our chair, Representative Peruso. So we're going to just jump right in and get started. Our first measure today is HB 2140 HD1 relating to ornamental ginger. Up first, we have Anna Vechovic with testimony and support.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to testify on this measure, of course, in support. This is a very important bill for our industry, floriculture industry specifically. Ornamental ginger is very important in different arrangements and so on when it comes to the floriculture industry and so on. And unfortunately, for over a decade now, our farmers who are farming this specific crop have been really devastated by the huge problem with the pathogens and so on. So what this bill is asking for support for 1 year to finish the research project that we started a while ago. We had this bill on the docks last year for 2 years. We received the funding for 1 year, so we're coming now back to ask for the second year, and this will be the final year of the project. So thank you for the opportunity to testify, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Up next, we have Department of Agriculture in support.
Good afternoon, Chair Peruso, Vice Chair Capella. My name is Darcy Oishi, Hawaii Department of Agriculture, Plant Pest Control Branch. We stand on our written testimony in support of this project. As Dr. Anya so eloquently highlights, this is a very important project for our industry, and I will always support any efforts to develop resistant strains for any type of any of our agricultural crops for viruses and other diseases. I'll be available for questions. Thank you for the opportunity to offer testimony.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Up next, we have Brian Miyamoto, Farm Bureau in support.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. You have our written testimony in support. We absolutely support this. I think you heard Dr. Vitoric say that this is the second year. We asked for $250 last year, got $125, which is great. We need that second $125,000. We just heard this bill about an hour ago in the Senate, and the question was asked, what happens if we don't get the money, or CTAR doesn't get the money? They may stop what they're doing. We will stop growing red ginger, or it could possibly spread to other varieties, and then we'll start importing red ginger. So our farmers will lose business. We'll be at risk again of more imports and more invasive species. So it's a small ask. $125,000 is a lot of money, but we are almost there. So we ask for the support of this committee and the legislature to fully fund the request from last year. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We also have testimony in support from the East Oahu County Farm Bureau, as well as the Land Use Research Foundation of Hawaii and the Maui County Farm Bureau, all in support, and then a number of individuals as well. Are there any other members who would like to testify either in person or on Zoom? Okay, seeing none, any questions?
I have a quick question for
Sure.
CTAR. So it's somewhat similar to the question asked by the Senate, but framing it differently, is there any opportunity for federal funding for this work?
That's an excellent question, and actually I mentioned that during my testimony hour ago that this is a project that is very difficult to get federal funding for. And the reason for that is that really not many people on the mainland as such care about ornamental ginger if it's really a crop that is specific to Hawaii. And so it will be very difficult to get federal funding for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you so much. No further questions. With that, we're going to move on to our next measure, HB 2138, relating to agriculture education. First up, we have University of Hawaii, Dr. Vechovic, in support.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to testify in the support of these very important measures. I've been thinking about this bill for a while now because we have been seeing this being showing up for a couple of years. And as we know that state and people of Hawaii are really interested in increasing sustainability and increasing locally produced food. If we really want to do that and had any chance to do that, then bills like that have to be really supported and passed. Because as we all know, the average age of farmers in Hawaii is very high, and soon they're all going to retire or move on. And young people are not interested in agriculture right now. It's a very difficult field to get students recruited, and the best time to introduce students to the area of science, and agriculture is science. We have to do that when they're young. So this specifically bill is asking for a coordinator position to work with our partners. We have partners all around Hawaii who are working on P20 agricultural education, but everybody is doing their own thing. I think by providing that one FTE is going to make a huge difference to this issue, because when we can coordinate and work together, and together we can accomplish so much more. So thank you for providing me opportunity to testify.
Up next, we have Myung Oh, Local Food Coalition, in support.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. On behalf of the Local Food Coalition, we stand in strong support of this measure, which creates inspiration, I think, for our young students to steward the future farmers, producers, as well as ranchers. And I believe this is a long time coming, so really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Up next, we have Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau, in support.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, Representative Martinez. Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. We will stand on our written testimony in strong support of this. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Up next, we have Dennis Chase, Hawaii Public Health Institute, in support.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, Committee. Again, I'm Dennis Chase from Hawaii Public Health Institute, and I'm the Program Manager of the Hawaii Farm to School HUI. We obviously stand in very strong support of this bill as we see firsthand the need and the value of agricultural education across the state at all of the P20 levels, and I would mention even at the ECE level, so from that 0 to 3 right before the P. And this bill has been recommended for several years, and we think it, like the dean said, it will be really useful in consolidating a lot of our efforts around the state to make sure that they are more effective and more targeted. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Up next, we have Christine Fern, University of Hawaii Professional Assembly, UPA, in support. Thank you so much for your testimony. I would like to note that we also have testimony in support from the Hawaii Cattlemen's Council, the Climate Future Forum, and a handful of other individuals, all in support. Oh, I have one person on Zoom, Lillian Colton. Okay, not present. But that's all I have on the testifiers list. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Okay, seeing none. Questions?
I have a question for Mr. Chase. Thank you so much for your work in this area. And I'm wondering, with the Farm to School HUI, are you folks preparing to be able to support someone in this position? And if so, what does that look like?
Yes, definitely. So one of the sort of projects that we have been working on is looking at data collection. How can we have not only data collected from across the state from the various programs, but how can we make that data comprehensive in a way that will allow programs to share information and to give us a complete picture of the situation? How many school gardens are there? How many agricultural education teachers are there? How many sites across the state that are agricultural sites are able to have field trips, have learning sessions, have experiential learning for the students in the different agricultural areas, as well as other general science areas.
Can I have some follow-up? So how would this position, just for our clarification, differ from the one that's currently occupied by Ms. Bernal?
So that position is specific to the Oahu Farm to School Network. And I think that position focuses on a lot of aspects of farm to school specifically, but it is not designed to look at the statewide agricultural education situation. So for example, something like how are teachers in our state getting certified to be agriculture teachers at the various levels? What are the opportunities for students who are coming out of high school and interested in agriculture, and how can we communicate those opportunities? So I think things like that fall beyond Ms. Bernal's sphere, but are really relevant to a position like this that can give us a wider view.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Members, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to our next measure, House Bill 1931. Up first, we have Doug Simmons, University of Hawaii, in support.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, mahalo for the opportunity to provide my testimony. The Institute for Astronomy, of which I'm the very proud director and an alum from 1990, is in the middle with the College of Engineering, UH Hilo, and other departments to create the Space Sciences Initiative. We are extremely appreciative of the funding to do that. The folks at UH Hilo are excited about the possibility of an engineering pathway that's being opened up as an extension of College of Engineering. The missing element that's provided for through this draft bill is a workforce development program to help us reach into the local schools through various community organizations and essentially establish that the front end of the pipeline that ultimately leads into the Space Sciences Initiative. And where I really get involved is making sure there are jobs lined up for these students when they're through the engineering programs that are available. So mahalo, I stand by the written testimony, and I'm here to answer questions when the time comes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Simmons. Up next, we have Mary Beth, excuse me, Mary Beth Leshek, Mauna Kea Scholars Program, in support.
Aloha, Chair and Vice Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony today. I'm in very strong support of this bill, and I stand by my written testimony. I want to just emphasize a couple of things. This is the Mauna Kea Scholars Program is a program that is predominantly for Hawaii DOE schools. The only school that's an exception to that is the work that we've been doing with Kamehameha schools. There's a wide variety of students that are engaged in this program, from those that are in AP Research and AP STEM classes to those that are in credit recovery programs, where science has just never been something that they've excelled at according to traditional book learning. The program provides an opportunity for them to explore science and through that really gain a confidence in themselves and the ability to start from scratch and do research. It's really about empowering students to see the wide variety of career options that exist for them, not just in the astronomy sector, but in the wide world. Program alumni range from teachers, including one at Kapolei High School, who's now running the program at her school, to students engaged in engineering, computer science, and astronomy. And so, again, mahalo for the opportunity. I'm in strong support and available to answer questions.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Up next, we have Upa, in support. Thank you so much. Next, we have Wendy Laros, Konakohala Chamber of Commerce, in support on Zoom.
Aloha, Chair Peruso, Vice Chair Capella, and the Committee on Higher Education and Technology. My name is Wendy Laros, and I'm the President and CEO of the Kona Kohala Chamber of Commerce. Our organization works to enhance the quality of life for our community through a strong, sustainable economy on Hawaii Island. The Kona Kohala Chamber strongly supports HB 1931 relating to the University of Hawaii. This bill proposes to appropriate funds for positions at the university's Institute for Astronomy's Space Sciences Workforce Development Program, the Mauna Kea Scholars Program, and the Akamai Internship Program. As an organization that supports the growth of Hawaii's technology sector, we believe that this will foster innovation, diversify the island's economy, and provide quality, high-paying jobs for the people of Hawaii. We also believe in educational programs that feed directly into the region's key industries, including the astronomy industry here on Hawaii Island. Please vote to pass HB 1931 relating to the University of Hawaii. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you so much for your testimony. That's all I had signed up to testify. I will note that there is support as well from the County of Hawaii Department of Research and Development, a county council member from Hawaii Island, the Japanese Chamber of Commerce, and the Hawaii Island Chamber of Commerce, as well as Mauna Kea observatories, and a number of individuals, all in support and one with comments. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Okay, seeing none, members' questions.
I have a quick question for Dr. Simmons. So thank you so much for responding to my questions.
I hope that was helpful.
Directing me towards more information about these two programs. They seem like they are already very well funded and robust programs, and I am wondering if these programs were originally developed to fulfill the community benefits requirements of the leases.
Short answer is no. The Akamai program has kind of an interesting history. It started roughly 20 years or so ago out of an NSF grant to UC Santa Cruz, and it was their outreach component of that NSF grant. And UC Santa Cruz is part of the HET consortium. So they basically directed that resource to Hawaii from Santa Cruz, and it's been administered there ever since. So it's an interesting relationship in which, the California schools, which are part of the CARA organization that oversees and supports CAC, has this program in Hawaii. And they come out every year and work with local observatories, students, engineering companies, et cetera, to put the internship program together. Mauna Kea Scholars is a very different program. Like we have Mary Beth here, who leads it. We started this when I was executive director at CFHT about 7 or 8 years ago. The program I wouldn't call well funded. It's mostly in kind. We have the main expenses we have right now are basically flying students back and forth. It's a truly statewide outreach program. I'm very proud of that. It is super fun to go Lanai and Molokai and work with those students because they have never really had the benefit of astronomy over the years. And we have the time provided by all the observatories in Mauna Kea, about half of them on Haleakala as well. So we built up a big team of people and organizations that donate for free. The intent behind this is to try and reduce the risk of the proposed space sciences workforce development, basically by building off of an expanding capacity. Particularly in Mauna Kea Scholars, we always wanted to have that available to every public high school in the country, or in the state, and we're in about 10 right now. So to do that, we need more people on the ground and more resources to be able to realize that vision.
So, I mean, we're asking this question of most advocates because we're facing a difficult fiscal situation. So it's my understanding that because you do have different sources of private funding, that neither of these programs would disappear should the legislature be unable to fund.
That's right. I don't want to overstate the situation. They're both stable right now.
Right.
The idea is to expand existing programs as opposed to starting from scratch to develop the space sciences workforce development program. And that's the basic philosophy, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I have one more quick question, if I may. With these positions, where do you plan on finding the individuals who will fill these positions?
Those will all be local recruitments. I think there are a total of 5 or so that are outlined in the bill. These are positions, and again, we can have Mary Beth come up and identify how she'd like to see the Mauna Kea Scholars positions filled. But from my perspective, they have the key role of working in the schools, the local schools, with teachers, principals, community organizations, to allow students, as she said, to understand and appreciate their capacity and prospect of going into STEM fields. We see, particularly on Hawaii Island, we've encountered through Mauna Kea Scholars the sense that they that possibility of a career simply isn't for them. So you have to start there, in my opinion, and that means start young.
How much of your
and-
staff is currently local?
Which staff?
The ones that this
observatories
would,
or- I'm sorry.
the ones that this would apply to?
Mary Beth is local, and we have no staff beyond that.
Okay. And then some of the funding that you folks already receive, I know you mentioned that everything's kind of stable for now. Where does a lot of that funding, where do those funding sources come from
For the outreach programs or the observatory?
for the outreach program?
For Akamai, it's an amalgam of NSF historically. Right now, the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation is providing, I believe, the bulk of the funding for Akamai. For CFHT, basically that is an in-kind contribution by that observatory for Mary Beth's time. When I was director for my time, we did have a grant from First Hawaiian Bank and Hawaii Community Foundation. So private donations, they weren't large, but they allowed us to fly students back and forth and things of that sort.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to the next measure, House Bill 2153. We only have one person testifying today, Camille Nelson. I don't see her. Okay, not present. There is no one is there anyone else that would like to ask? Is there anyone else that would like to testify on this measure? Okay, seeing none, members, we're going to move on to the next measure because there's no one to ask questions of. Up first, forgive me, we are going to be hearing House Bill 2719 relating to post-secondary education. Up first, we have Candace Park, Deputy Attorney General, with comments.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. My name is Jenny Nakamoto, Deputy Attorney General, standing in for Ms. Candace Park. And we did submit written testimony for this particular bill, and I'd just like to testify today that if the committee does decide to pass this bill, we recommend an amendment that adds a statement identifying this bill as a law of statewide concern. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Up next, we have University of Hawaii with comments.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Deborah Halbert, Vice President for Academic Strategy. We do have several comments. First of all, just as clarification, given the numbers in the counties, this would only apply to Kauai Community College for your information. But secondly, we do believe a resolution to review the free tuition component may be in order rather than this bill. But if the bill were to go forward, we would offer several recommendations. One being to clarify the language about the FAFSA being presented to the Board of Regents. That was unclear to us, but also then potentially aligning the residency requirements from 2 to 1 years to align with the Hawaii administrative rules around residency. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. That's all I have signed up to testify today. I will note we also have testimony and support from one individual. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Okay, seeing none, members, are there any questions? Chair?
I have a quick question for you, H. So I was waiting for language on those amendments, the proposed amendments for this measure, and I didn't see any, but if possible, could you send them over to us? Because
Certainly.
essentially what I'm noting is that, the language on the FAFSA is unclear, and you want to clarify that so that the FAFSA is not necessarily required, or what is your ask?
The way that the bill reads right now, it says in section 2A, complete and submit to the Board of Regents of the University of Hawaii a free application for federal student aid. Currently, there's no requirement that students submit to the Board of Regents their FAFSA form. So it would really just be to complete the FAFSA, if indeed
Okay.
that's what would be required.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So this apparently only applies to Kauai.
Yes.
And is there any advantage to starting there if this was something that was seen as a potential future statewide program, or?
I would imagine, and I can't I'm not sure why the language was added the way it was, but because it is the smallest of the counties and the language in the bill talks about county population, the idea was that we would be starting with the smallest of the counties. But I don't know that that is why. Of course, in terms of the financial impact, it would also presumably also be the smallest financial impact in terms of tuition if it was to move forward. That would be my projection of why that particular clause.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to our last bill on the agenda, House Bill 2720, relating to collective bargaining. Up first, we have University of Hawaii Student Caucus in support in person.
Aloha and good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Ronald Sturgis, and I'm here on behalf of the Student Caucus. I'm currently serving as the Vice Chair of the Student Caucus, and the University of Hawaii Student Caucus has voted unanimously in support of House Bill 2720 with a request that the exemption from Bargaining Unit 16 be removed. Right now, the University of Hawaii Student Caucus its purpose is to basically try to represent the entire population, the student population of the 10 campuses within the University of Hawaii system. Of this population exists the graduate assistants, who are currently petitioning to have this bargaining unit so that they can fight for better working conditions, better wages, to what we see improve the overall student experience and the service offered by the University of Hawaii. As we all know right now, the University of Hawaii, along with many other places across the state, are suffering from crippling staffing shortages. By allowing the graduate assistants to bargain for better wages and better working conditions, this would help supplement and help mitigate the impact currently of these staffing shortages plaguing the UH system. On top of this, the HLRB ruled on January 4th, 2024, that graduate assistants are public employees and have a right to collectively bargain. As such, that is why we make the request to remove this exemption status. If I have the exact language, it was claimed that they were not ready to bargain. And if I may speak on that, if they were not ready to bargain, I don't think they would have come to this point. They would not have come this far to testify to make a union. But thank you for allowing me this opportunity to come here and testify in support on behalf of the Student Caucus, and just stating again that we stand in strong support of House Bill 2720 with a request to remove the exemption status of Bargaining Unit 16. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Thank you for being here today. We also have testimony in support from the Democratic Party of Hawaii, the Democratic Party of Hawaii Education Caucus, as well as the Labor Caucus, both in support. Not signed up to testify, but I do want to mention that we have comments from Department of Budget and Finance. We also have comments from the University of Hawaii. And then up next, we have the Stonewall Caucus of the Democratic Party of Hawaii in support on Zoom.
Good afternoon. Michael Goloyi Jr., Chair of the Stonewall Caucus of the Democratic Party of Hawaii. We stand in strong support we stand with the grad assistants, as we have for many, many years, way too many years that it has taken for them to be able to get the right to collective bargain. Like the AFL-CIO said today, you can't spell unions without you and I. So we need you today to stand with them so they can move forward. So we call upon you to pass this bill with the amendment as requested. Mahalo.
Thank you very much for your testimony. I will also mention that we have Pride at Work Hawaii in support, UPW in support, Academic Labor Union in support, and then Hawaii Labor Relations Board offering comments. Up next, we have Josiah Rodriguez, ALU, with comments in person.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jeremy Rodriguez, and I'm a first-year student in political science employed by the College of Social Work. And I am in support of revising the amended version of the bill to protect our right to collectively bargain. As one of the many new graduate students that come to UH every year seeking the promise of a quality public higher education, my very first experience on campus was an ALU member coming to me at orientation that asking me to join the union. And since then, I've been shown time and time again that ALU is profoundly educated and organized. Despite only being a student here for 4 months, my peers have worked to demonstrate the vitality of not only joining the union, but being an active member. As the newest member of the Executive Council, I serve as the co-chair of the Political Education Committee, working with my peers to bring to the fore labor issues, history, and politics. I am a testament to the time and commitment that my peers have taken to educate, mentor, and support everyone in ALU. As my fellow workers have guided me into this union, each year we revitalize ourselves with new members who are motivated and ready to organize. Indeed, this union is not a product of a mere temporary fervor. We are the inheritors of the decades-long struggle. As a Hawaiian, Filipino, and Chinese worker, I follow in the footsteps of my ancestors who labored on ships, in the fields, and in pineapple canneries. My fellow students and I come here deeply dedicated to these histories, the communities we live in, and the ancestors who guide us. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Up next, we have Matthew Miller, Academic Labor United, in support.
Hello, good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Committee. My name is Matthew Miller. I'm a first-year PhD student and currently acting as the SOAST Organizing Chair, and today I'll be speaking on behalf of ALU. ALU supports revising the amended version of HB 2720 to protect our rights to collectively bargain. Today, I would like to say that we stand on our written testimony and also emphasize that ALU is ready to be a union. We've been listening diligently to the House and Senate's advice, and I would like to address some of those open notes today. First, ALU is well-structured and modeled after existing unions. Members of ALU have fought tirelessly over the past few decades to unionize, and as a result have created an appropriate structure to properly represent ourselves. ALU is organized and flexible, with our own bylaws, as well as an active finance, communications, political education, international students, gender equity, general grievance, and organizing committees. Our organizing committee has a structure similar to a typical union and liaison roles resembling the stewards in different colleges and departments. The organizing chairs include representatives from 5 of the schools, which I'm one of, within UH and are actively recruiting for more. To also strengthen our base of GAs, we've developed what we're calling alikai positions. The alikai are similar to the shop steward structure found in most labor unions. And as of creating the alikai roles in late January of 2024, we've brought on 11 new members, 10 of which represent unique departments. ALU is bolstering our base of graduate students, and I cannot emphasize this enough, to create a structure that will outlast any term of, and outlast the term of any individual graduate assistant. Secondly, ALU is developing a viable budget and handling financial plans appropriately. Our finance committee is working hard to ensure that ALU can meet the pecuniary needs of our organization to create a viable, long-lasting financial base, particularly via a nonprofit organization. We are working closely with the NEA to model our budget after successfully functioning graduate student unions that already exist. And we are diligently aligning our future funding structure within the current GA salary steps to make sure that it's a realistic and affordable plan. Third, ALU has the support of both the NEA and HSTA, two very well-known and well-organized unions. NEA has offered support for budgeting assistance, establishing nonprofit labor union status, and support from their subject matter experts in graduate assistant history, legal advice, day-to-day chapter management, and many more areas. HSTA has begun work to secure legal representation and advice to help ALU become a nonprofit labor union under Hawaii law, and the HSTA's experience with the local political landscape is an invaluable resource that we really appreciate. ALU is extremely grateful for the guidance, support, and aloha that the NEA and HSTA have shown us. So wrapping up, I want to emphasize that ALU is listening, ALU is adapting, and ALU is ready. Thank you so much for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Up next, we have Danielle DeRocco, NEA, in support.
Got it right. That was really good. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Danielle Duraco, and I am a higher education organizational specialist with the National Education Association. I join you all tonight to express the NEA's steadfast support for Academic Labor United and for HB 2720 with appropriate amendments. As the largest labor organization in this country representing education employees, we have the capacity to support the continued development of Academic Labor United as a viable, effective, and sustainable representation for its representative of its members. I have personally had the pleasure of supporting ALU for the last 2 years plus now, and I'm looking forward greatly to continuing to work with them as they seek their collective bargaining rights that they, just like any other public employee in the state of Hawaii, deserve. The NEA is prepared and eager to provide support to ALU, including, but not limited to, access and training to digital organizing tools and communication platforms, leadership development, organizing support, strategic planning, guidance on budget development and chapter management, support in the development of an effective and robust governance structure, and much more. We will also continue to provide subject matter expertise regarding graduate assistant matters, which includes grad worker history, applicable labor law, professional development meant for graduate workers, how to run a graduate chapter day to day and what does that mean, and graduate worker specific engagement strategies so that they're able to sustain their membership and build their membership no matter who is elected leader at a given time. Academic Labor United with NEA will have the tools and support they need to thrive for years to come. Now they need your support. Before I close, I just want to highlight the recommended revisions for HB 2720 from its currently amended version. We'd like to recommend that the committee amend so that this bill upholds the constitutional rights of Hawaii's grad assistants to collectively bargain. As it currently stands, Part 3, Section 4, Subsection 4 would deny grad workers the right to collectively bargain, and I quote, until the Hawaii Labor Relations Board determines they are ready to be placed into a bargaining unit. Ladies and gentlemen and kin, the University of Hawaii's grad workers are ready right now. They have been ready for a long time, and I have never seen them more prepared than they are right now to be placed into a bargaining unit of their own. On behalf of the National Education Association and our 3 million members, I implore this committee to take action tonight. Amend and pass this bill. Now is the time. Mahalo for the opportunity to contribute to this important conversation, and I will stay here and remain available to answer any questions that the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Up next, we have Osatui, Hawaii State Teachers Association, in opposition on Zoom. Oh, okay, not present. Okay, next we have, I'd like to mention that we have Unite Here, Local 5 in support. Christine Fern, UPA in support. Christian, I'm sorry, apparently I can't read. Christian, I'm sorry. We have a number of individuals also in support, 3 pages worth. But we have Sarah Maria Sestimoinian. Thank you, Chair. In support on Zoom. Not present. Okay. I was so excited I got the name right. Miles Drazakovsky in support. You can correct me.
Chair Peruso, members of the committee, I appreciate the opportunity to offer my testimony today. My name is Miles Draskowski. I'm a civil engineering graduate worker as well as an organizer with Academic Labor United. I would like to voice my strong support of HB 2720 in the original non-exclusion form. Today, I want to primarily give my voice to a group that is, I feel, particularly vulnerable to the kinds of issues that my peers have mentioned, international students. and particularly international students with families and children. My college, by a large measure, is composed of international students. These are workers that have largely left their families and their countries behind just for the opportunity provided by a graduate degree. Their sacrifice and dedication make them particularly susceptible to workplace abuse. As we sit here in this room with you deciding whether or not workers deserve their rights, these workers are working under conditions that anyone can see are intolerable. In my short time here, every single one of the international students in my cohort has voiced to me multiple situations in which the demands of the work has far exceeded the job description. And yet, they've also voiced to me a deep concern that reporting these situations would put their job and, by extension, their visas and their future in jeopardy. A bargaining unit, and by extension a union, would provide a safe forum to report these workplace abuses and protect those that are most vulnerable. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present my testimony before you today. Thanks.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Up next, we have Lily Fisher in support.
Aloha, Chair Peruso, Vice Chair Capella, and committee members. My name is Lily Fisher. I am a graduate assistant in the American Studies Department at UH Manoa and an organizing chair with Academic Labor United. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of HB 2720 in its original form. Grad student labor is essential to the operation of the University of Hawaii. The school could not run without it. Collective bargaining will allow graduate students to harness the power of our vital labor to address ongoing systemic and structural inequities in grad student salaries, treatment, and security. We deserve to negotiate with the administration as a collective, and we have proven that we are capable of doing so. For years and without institutional support, ALU has created avenues to serve the unique needs of our diverse membership. We are a truly grassroots organization committed to creating a union built on principles of community care and inclusivity that can attend to the intersecting needs of every graduate student. I've been working with ALU for over 2 years and have listened, as I know many of you have, to numerous stories of the compounding academic, economic, and interpersonal stresses that make life as a graduate assistant almost unsustainable. I have also seen ALU emerge as a space and a resource in which we seek sustenance from our community. I'm inspired every day by the brilliant and tenacious workers that compose our membership. In spite of numerous roadblocks and our own heavy workloads, our numbers continue to grow. In the time I've been working with ALU, we have only become more organized, better resourced, and more committed to one another and to our mission for a union. We will continue to work for the rights we know we deserve because we genuinely care about keeping each other safe, making higher education accessible to people of all socioeconomic backgrounds, and we know a graduate student union will benefit not only the students and the workers at UH, but workers in Hawaii more broadly. We are here asking for support and for a legal pathway to do what we've already been doing for years, to care and fight for our community. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you so much for your testimony. That's all I had signed up to testify on my testifiers list. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Please go ahead.
So hi, good afternoon to Chair Representative Amy Peruso, Vice Chair Representative Janae Capella, to Representative Lisa Martin, Representative Rose Martinez. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Diane. I'm a PhD candidate in oceanography, and I'm also the chair of Academic Labor United. I'm here to emphasize 2 things. One is that graduate student workers belong in our own bargaining unit. And second, that the amendment that stands from the Labor and Government Operations Committee is unlawful and unconstitutional. So in January 4, 2024, the HLRB ruled that graduate student workers are public employees and that we were excluded from 11 out of the 15 existing bargaining units, which left Units 7, 3, 8, and 13. Unit 7 is the faculty, represented by UPA. Graduate workers do not belong in that unit because they would be in the same unit as their direct supervisors, some of whom GAs might have grievances against. Unit 3 is non-supervisory employees in white-collar positions. Unit 8 is for personnel of UH. And Unit 13 is for professional and scientific employees, all of which are represented by HGA. The scope and the nature of the work done by graduate student workers, the requisite qualifications, the training, the employment conditions that are necessitated by those types of assistantships all signify that graduate workers do not belong into any of those other three units. And it is also noteworthy that both UPA and HGA have submitted testimony in support and have done so since GSO and ALO have started introducing bills in 2012. So HB 2720, as it currently stands, has the following amendment. It placed graduate student assistants among individuals not to be included in any appropriate bargaining unit or be entitled to coverage under Chapter HRS 89-6, which governs collective bargaining in public employment. This allusion to a temporary arrangement notwithstanding, we assert that it is utterly unlawful for the legislature to prevent graduate student workers from exercising their constitutionally guaranteed right to bargain as public employees. In 2002, the Hawaii Supreme Court, in its ruling for United Public Workers versus UE, a case where public workers sued the state of Hawaii when the legislature passed an act which trampled on their rights to freely negotiate on cost items in their contracts, namely their salaries, stated in their majority opinion that the legislature did not have the constitutional authority to enact a law that in effect completely abrogated the right granted under Article 13, Section 2 of the Hawaii Constitution. Simply, the public employees have the right to collectively bargain. Therefore, this amendment to exclude graduate assistants from collective bargaining oppresses our fundamental rights. The legislature does not have the authority to enact this amendment into law, and it's with these considerations that we strongly protest against the inclusion of this in any future versions of HB 2720, and we urge the Higher Education and Technology Committee to stand with graduate student workers and ensure that their constitutional rights are upheld. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Nan?
Hi, my name is Jocelyn Brody. I'm a first-year American Studies PhD student and a graduate assistant. And one thing that I just wanted to share with you guys was that I'm thinking about my role as an instructor. I currently have 37 students who I do all the grading for, and I teach them in sections on Friday. So they have a lecturer who's...
I'm so sorry.
It's just upsetting.
Yeah, I know.
She wants a union.
It's frustrating. Yeah. Well, I was going to say, like, we want to do the right thing for our students, you know, and, like, you know, when kids grow up and go to college, like, we as graduate students and as teachers now in our own right, like, want to feel like we're able to give our students, like, the time and attention that they deserve. Which is hard if you're like, oh, I need a second job, you know what I mean? And so I know right now I'm feeling like I hoped that this would be sustainable, but financially it's not. And then also, you know, other things can distract people, like if you're facing harassment and you have nothing to do about it, then that's sort of taking away from your ability to be a really good educator or instructor in whatever role you have, or a good research assistant, you know, if that's what you're doing. So that was all I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go into questions. Chair?
I have a quick question for NEA, if you're still on the line.
I'm here. What can I do?
Hi. So thanks for joining us. My question has to do with financial viability. And given that the pay for the graduate assistants in Hawaii is so low, I think it raises the specter of not being able to fund a structure that's sustainable. So could you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. I think that's a really important concern that you're bringing to the table, because it's one that graduate chapters encounter no matter how big or small they are, because membership rolls every year, right? Typically for grad chapters, a third of their folks graduate every single year. Now you have a new third of people coming in that you need to recruit and you need to engage. I have had the opportunity to work closely with ALU's treasurer, secretary treasurer, and other folks that are involved with their finance committee. They have put together a entirely reasonable budget that I think if you go and take a look at what they've submitted and shared with you, they projected a dues rate that is entirely in line with what other grad units do, and provided revenue for 50% and 30% membership, which is something that we as NEA can really help them with on creating a cycle of year-round organizing that allows them to consistently build that membership where they can exceed those numbers. But their bottom line is, I've seen it, they will be in the black in most conditions, almost all conditions, so long as they continue to organize. And that is the most important piece of being a successful graduate union. I will also add that in that financial structure that they are proposing, that would need to go in front of their members, they would need to agree to. They have taken into consideration all sorts of financial burdens and variables to be able to move money forward for future emergencies, to save for themselves, to make sure that they're able to not just get by year and stress, but to be able to be financially independent and stable. I'm very proud to say what to share with you that what I have seen is robust. And I think the reason it's most robust is the scope of their membership. They have so many people, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful that allows them with such a large base number to be able to be sustainable from the get-go.
I just have
Which is a privilege many grad chapters do not have.
Thank you. A quick follow-up question. Some of my colleagues have expressed concern about the impact of Janus, and I'm wondering what you see on the national level. How are graduate student unions really grappling with the challenges of that decision?
I can give you a whole bunch of examples, but I'm going to try to make it real brief.
Make it
for
short.
you. The locals, the chapters that take organizing and understand that building membership is not a door knock once in a year, right? But that it's a culture, are the ones that are successful, and the ones who are not will struggle with this and eventually often come around. I haven't seen yet, and now I would need to go and really look, a grad chapter that's gone under as a result of Janus. What I have seen is grad chapters spin up, right, and say, no, unacceptable, we're going to work really hard to maintain this union. And these are in other conditions even beyond Janus. The state of Florida has made it required for unions to recertify at it's either 50 or 60% membership every single year, and grad chapters there are working it. They're doing the work. No one likes to be told that they can't have something that they know they need. People work very hard to make sure that they maintain it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Rocco, I actually have a question for you as well. Okay, in regards to this exemption language, have you seen anything like this with any of the other universities that you've worked with across the nation?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I'm not even entirely sure
why
that language is there, what that means. Yeah, no, I have not.
Okay. Members, any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, we're going to recess. Sorry, there's one more. There's a new one. One more bill. We're going to move on to HB 1588. We have one person signed up to testify. Labor Education Advisory Council in support. Okay, not present. Seeing that they're not here, we are now going to recess for decision making. Recess.
Reconvening Higher Education and Technology. Today is February 14th, 2024, and we are reconvening for decision-making on a number of measures. The first is House Bill 2140, HD1. We're going to pass this out as is, noting in the committee report the requested appropriation of $125,000 using the budget breakdown from CTAR's testimony. That's my recommendation. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 2140, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative LaChica. Aye. Representative Martin. Aye. Representative Martinez.
Aye.
Representative Matayoshi is excused. Representative Mizuno.
Aye.
Representative Quinlan is excused. Representative Todd is excused. Representative Woodson is excused. Representative Garcia. Aye. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to House Bill 2138, HD1, relating to agricultural education. We're also going to pass this measure out and noting in the committee report that the position is to be funded through A funds at $100,000 per year. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 2138, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting the excused absences of Representatives Matayoshi, Quinlan, Todd, and Woodson to stand for the rest of the hearing as well. Are there any other reservations? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you so much. And I just want to note that I'm so grateful that my Vice Chair is, doing multiple things at once. On House Bill 1931, related to the Institute for Astronomy Space Sciences Workforce Development Program. My recommendation is to defer this. This is really interesting work, and I think the program coordinators are doing a great job, but I think that given our fiscal situation, it seems to me that you will be stable in the interim until that fiscal situation changes. So that's my recommendation to defer. Are there any objections? Seeing none, moving on to House Bill 2153, I'm also going to defer this measure. I spoke with the introducer, and she will be working with the law school leadership to lay a foundation for this program that hopefully we will see in the future, because I think it's important. Any objections? Excellent. Moving on to House Bill 2719, relating to post-secondary education. So this is about the pilot program. I have been going back and forth on this, and I think my recommendation is to keep the language in that applies to the smallest county, to note that this is a matter of statewide concern, to make technical amendments needed for clarity, consistency, and style, and also to revise the language around FAFSA so that it simply says the students need to complete a FAFSA, not that they need to present it to the Board of Regents, and then also to align the residency rules to align so that they comport with UH residency rules. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 2719, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye, noting the presence of Representative Woodson. Are there any reservations or no's? No vote, Representative Garcia. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. On House Bill 2720, HD1, relating to collective bargaining, on this measure, colleagues, I'd like to recommend that we revert the language to the original text of HB 2720 due to the concerns around constitutionality and looking at the case of UPW versus Yogi from 2002. I'd also like to note for the committee report, having seen some conversations happening in the Senate, that tuition waivers are a form of financial aid, not taxable payment for work, according to UH policy found at the UH website. Are there any questions or concerns? Oh. Yes. And just to make sure that we are still defecting the effective date. Questions, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 2720, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Are there any reservations or no's? No vote, Representative Garcia. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Now we're going to move on to the measures from previous hearings. So House Bill 1788, relating to the tax credit for research activities. My recommendation is to modify Section 1 of the bill at page 13, lines 1 and 2, to read as follows. M, this section shall not apply to taxable years beginning after December 31st, 2029. We're going to keep the cap at 5 million. We're not going to expand the cap to 15 million. And otherwise accepting all other amendments offered by the AG's office and DOTAX. We're also going to defect the effective date. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on
And blanking out the appropriations.
Voting on HB 1788, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Are there any reservations or noes? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
The next measure, SB 1511 SD2, relating to the Research Corporation of the University of Hawaii. We're going to pass out an HD1, accepting the amendments proposed by HGEA, reinserting Section 2C, and we're going to make technical amendments needed for clarity, consistency, and style. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 1511, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Are there any reservations or noes? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. On House Bill 1802, relating to UH revenue bonds, we're going to pass out an HD1, defecting the effective date and blanking out any appropriations. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote. 1802.
Voting on HB 1802, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Are there any reservations or noes? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to HB 1784, relating to taxation, we're going to accept the AG's suggested amendment on page 2 of their testimony. We're also going to accept the amendment regarding the definition of a data server from ServPack. We're going to defect the effective date. And that's it. We're on 1784.
Voting on HB 1784, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Are there any reservations or noes? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. On House Bill 2710, relating to telecommunications, we're going to accept the amendments offered in written testimony by James Munier. We're going to note in the committee report that there's a legal concern expressed by CTIA about backup power mandates, and but the committee also notes that California seems to have similar provisions in place, so we're going to continue to move this bill forward while we try to better understand this issue of preemption. We're also going to defect the effective date. Members, are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 2710, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Are there any reservations or noes? Reservations, Representative Garcia. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. And on House Bill 1588, relating to Labor Education Advisory Council, we're going to pass this out as is. That's my recommendation. Any questions, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on HB 1588, Chair's recommendation is to pass as is. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Are there any reservations or noes? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. We are adjourned.